There was a time when humanity was not allowed to think, not metaphorically, but literally not allowed to think. Feels like now sometimes, right? Fire did not belong to man, and knowledge did not belong to mankind. Even the right to question was not our birthright, and the gods intended to keep it that way. In the earliest age of the world, before cities arose and before language had fully formed on the tongues of men, human beings lived as animalistic beings of the dirt, huddling in darkness when the sun went down, fearing what moved in the darkness. They were completely dependent on what was given to them by the gods and what was withheld from them. Above them, on the heights of Mount Olympus, the gods ruled, not gently, but with absolute precision. Zeus, king of the gods, was not merely a ruler of the thunder and the sky, but the enforcer of order upon a chaotic world. He was the boundary between divine and human. He enforced it. He was the one who ensured that mortals remained limited, dependent on the gods, and obedient to the gods. Because to him, this boundary was necessary. Because if humans remained weak, they remained controllable, they remained governable. If they remained in darkness, they remained reverent to the gods. If they never tasted power, they would never long for power, they would never challenge power. So Prometheus was a Titan, and he was older than the Olympians themselves. He was born of the earth and sky. He was shaped by forces that predated Zeus and Zeus's reign. He was a being not easily impressed by authority or the ornaments of the gods. And more importantly, he was not afraid of them. He walked among humans. Unlike the gods, he was not a distant observer of humanity. He studied humans closely. He watched them struggle to survive. He watched them bow to the forces they did not understand. Beneath all that, he saw something dangerous, a flicker of potential. You see, beneath all of their gruffness, humans had a sort of animalistic intelligence. Prometheus acted from a sort of a recognition. He saw in humanity the same force that shaped the gods and the Titans alike, the will to become self-aware and become self-governed. Prometheus understood something that Zeus refused to accept. If that spark in humans were ever fed, if it were ever given the means to grow, humanity would no longer remain contained. And so Prometheus made a decision from his own full awareness of the ultimate cost to himself. He ascended to Olympus and moved through the realm of the gods until he found the fire he was looking for. Fire in this context isn't just flame, though. It is the ability to transform nature to our will, the birth of craft and creation, the awakening of thought, the beginning of independence from the gods. With fire, humans could cook their own food. They could shape tools and extend their lifespans and begin to change their environment instead of submitting to it. Days were longer. With fire came skill, and with that skill became confidence. And that confidence brought questioning. And you know what happens when someone starts questioning? They start questioning authority. Prometheus brought the fire down and it placed it into human hands. And in doing so, he made them impossible to fully control. Zeus saw what had been done, and he understood immediately that this was no small transgression on Prometheus's part, but a fracture in the structure he maintained, the order that Zeus maintained. Because if humans could think and create and act from their own will rather than what they were just told, they could no longer be ruled as easily as before. In his anger, Zeus wanted to punish Prometheus, but he also wanted to make an example of him and send a message to anyone else who even remotely considered defying him. Prometheus was seized and taken far away from Olympus and far away from humanity. He was bound to a great cliff overlooking the void and strapped to the rocks with unbreakable chains. To be stuck in one position for eternity, to me, seems like punishment enough. But Zeus had more in store for Prometheus's defiance. Each day, an eagle would descend and tear out and devour Prometheus's liver. The ancients understood the liver as the seat of all desire and all willpower. And so after being ripped open and eaten each day, each night Prometheus's liver would grow back so that the punishment would be eternal. Even through all this torment, Prometheus did not beg for release or mercy. He did not recant what he did. He did not apologize. He already knew before giving fire to humans that the price would be this level of attempted annihilation of self. But inwardly, he was already sovereign. He already had such a deep sense of self before he even considered stilling the fire for mankind. He did not become sovereign despite his suffering, but he had been sovereign already through his willingness to bear it. Zeus could chain his body and orchestrate endless pain and suffering for eternity, but he could not make Prometheus bow down to him or beg for mercy. And so Prometheus is less of a mythological figure, and now he moves into a pattern or an archetype. Being sovereign inside, despite external circumstances, well, it has been the plight of the individual since time out of mind. Prometheus did not literally liberate humans, but he gave them the capacity to free themselves and then demonstrated to them the price of self-governance. Here is the question. Where in your life are you being asked to bow? And what would it cost you to refuse that? The lantern is lit. The fire has been stolen. And now we begin, mystic travelers.